So I'm sitting here on my lunch break at Target eating a sad protein bar because I can barely stomach real food right now. And I need to get this out before I actually lose my mind. You know those moments where you think you're in a solid relationship and then the universe just decides to absolutely destroy you? Yeah, that's where I'm at. Last Thursday morning, I'm scrolling Instagram while getting ready for work, double-checking that I ordered the right concealer shade because my skin's been a mess lately, and I see that Roland's cousin Natasha posted a photo dump from her wedding. The wedding that happened the day before. The wedding I wasn't invited to because Roland told me it was strictly family only, no plus ones allowed. His whole family was being weird about keeping it intimate, and he felt terrible about it, but there was nothing he could do. I believed him. Like an absolute fool, I believed him. The first photo in the carousel was just standard wedding stuff. Natasha and her new husband looking happy. Whatever. I almost scrolled past, but something made me swipe to the next photo, and there he was. My boyfriend of 2 years. Slow dancing with some blonde woman in a gorgeous emerald dress, his hand on her waist, her head on his shoulder, both of them looking like they stepped out of a romance movie. I literally froze with my mascara wand halfway to my eye. My roommate Jasmine asked if I was okay because apparently I made some kind of wounded animal noise. But it gets so much worse. I kept swiping through the photos and there are like 6 pictures of them together. Him whispering something in her ear while she's laughing. Her wearing his suit jacket over her shoulders. Him kissing her temple while they're standing by the bar. Them sitting at what's clearly the family table during dinner, his arm around the back of her chair. And the caption on the post? So blessed to celebrate with family. Special shout out to the most beautiful couple at my wedding. With a bunch of heart emojis and tags. She tagged both of them. I clicked on the blonde woman's tag, and her name is Carol. His mom commented on the post. His mom who has been cold to me since day one, who always has some passive-aggressive thing to say about my job or my clothes or whatever. Her comment said, finally, a daughter-in-law I can be proud of. With a bunch of crying happy emojis. I'm sitting there in my bathroom, mascara forgotten, and I just started clicking through everything. Every single family member who commented was congratulating them. His aunt said something about how perfect they looked together. His dad commented, about time son. Roland's brother left like 5 fire emojis under a photo of them dancing. And Roland had liked and commented on the post. He wrote, amazing day, thanks for having us, with a heart emoji. Us. Not me and him and her. Jasmine had to physically take my phone away from me because I was shaking so hard I almost dropped it. She made me sit down and asked what happened. When I showed her, she went through the same progression I did, except she started yelling. She wanted to drive to his apartment right then and confront him, but I told her no, because he was supposed to be at the wedding still. Supposedly heading to some family brunch that morning. He texted me around 10 a.m. saying he missed me and the wedding had been beautiful, but he wished I could have been there. He sent me a selfie of him in his suit looking all handsome and said he couldn't wait to see me that evening. I didn't respond right away because I was trying to figure out what the hell to do. I went to work, but I was absolutely useless. My manager Dwight asked if I was feeling okay because I messed up like 3 price checks in a row. I told him I had a migraine coming on. During my break, I did what any reasonable person would do and went full FBI mode on this Carol woman's Instagram. Her profile was public. Jackpot. I started scrolling back through her posts and my entire relationship flashed before my eyes like I was dying. 6 months ago, there's a post of fancy cocktails at this upscale bar downtown with the caption, best date nights with my favorite person, and you can see Roland's watch in the corner of the photo. The same distinctive watch his grandpa left him that he never takes off. 4 months ago, a photo of a beautiful dinner spread with candles and rose petals, and the caption, anniversary dinner with my love, 2 amazing years together. The date on that post? My birthday. The night Roland told me he had food poisoning and couldn't make it to the dinner reservation I'd made weeks in advance. I spent my 26th birthday eating takeout alone while he was apparently celebrating their anniversary. 3 months ago, a mirror selfie where she's wearing one of those couples hoodies that says, his queen, and you can partially see someone behind her wearing the Her King version. 2 months ago, a vacation post from some beach resort. Thankful for this man who treats me like royalty. During the same week, Roland told me he had to go on a work trip to Ohio for training. Ohio. He said he'd barely have time to FaceTime because the schedule was intense. There are dozens of these. Dinners, concerts, weekend trips, holiday celebrations. Every single time he told me he was busy with work or family stuff or his boys' poker night, he was with her. She wasn't even hiding it. She has pictures of them going back 2 years. The same amount of time I've been with him. I'm scrolling through all of this in the Target break room and I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw my phone across the room. I wanted to drive to wherever he was and make a scene. But something stopped me. Maybe it was shock. Maybe it was the part of my brain that was already planning something. I don't know. When I got home that evening, I told Jasmine everything I found. She was furious. She wanted to blast him on social media, call him, text him, tell his entire family what a piece of garbage he is. But I told her I needed to think. I needed to process this. And honestly, I wanted to see what he would do. Roland came over to my apartment around 7 p.m. like we planned. He seemed tired but happy, gave me a big hug, told me he missed me so much. He smelled like cologne and I wondered if he'd sprayed it to cover up her perfume. He had his phone in his hand and said he wanted to show me photos from the wedding. This is where I apparently became an Oscar-worthy actress, because I sat down next to him on my couch and smiled and said I'd love to see them. He pulled up his camera roll and started swiping through photos. But here's the thing. Every single photo was carefully cropped. Photos of him with his cousins, with his parents, with Natasha and her husband at the venue, by the decorations. No blonde woman anywhere. He'd either cropped her out or chose angles where she wasn't visible. He showed me like 20 photos talking about how beautiful everything was, how emotional the ceremony was, how much food there was, how his uncle got drunk and made a fool of himself. He was so casual about it. So normal. Like he hadn't just spent the entire day with another woman who his family thinks is his girlfriend. I asked him who he sat with during dinner and he said, oh, you know, just family, it wasn't that exciting. I asked if he danced and he said just with his mom and Natasha. The usual wedding stuff. He looked me in the eyes and lied so smoothly. I played along. I said everything looked beautiful. I was sorry I couldn't be there. I'm glad he had fun. He kissed my forehead and said, next family event, I'm definitely coming. He'll make sure of it. He stayed over that night. I'm not gonna go into details, but it was rough pretending everything was fine, when all I could think about was him touching her the same way he was touching me. When he fell asleep, I went into the bathroom and just sat on the floor for like an hour trying not to cry and wake him up. The next morning was Saturday. He left around 10 a.m. because he said he had to help his dad with something at his parents' house. The second he left, I pulled out my laptop and started going through everything again. I took screenshots of every single one of Carol's posts that showed evidence of them together. I looked through Roland's Instagram more carefully and realized he doesn't post much, but when he does, it's always solo shots or generic stuff. Nothing coupley. Nothing that would indicate he has a girlfriend at all. Meanwhile, Carol's Instagram is full of couple content, just with his face usually cut off or obscured. Smart, I guess. She knows about me. She has to know about me. Roland and I are friends on social media. We're tagged in mutual friends' posts together sometimes. Unless he told her I'm just a friend? Or a crazy ex who won't leave him alone? God, I don't even know. Sunday, I barely slept. I kept going through scenarios in my head. Do I confront him? Do I message Carol? Do I blast him publicly? Do I just ghost him? My mom called to check in like she does every Sunday, and I couldn't even tell her what was happening because she loves Roland. She'd be devastated. Monday morning, I texted Roland good morning like normal. He responded with his usual sweet messages. We had our regular text conversations throughout the day. He sent me a meme that reminded him of me, asked how my shift was going, said he was thinking about me. It was surreal. Like I was living in two different realities. In one reality, I'm in a loving relationship with a guy who texts me throughout the day and calls me baby and makes plans for our future. In the other reality, I'm the side chick who doesn't even know it, while his actual girlfriend posts their relationship all over social media and his family celebrates them. Monday night, Roland texted saying he was exhausted and was gonna turn in early. I said, okay, sleep well, talk tomorrow. Then I checked Carol's Instagram story, and she'd posted a photo of takeout food and a movie on TV with the caption, "Cozy night in with Bae." That's when something clicked. Every time he told me he was too tired to hang out or needed a night to himself, he was probably with her. Every time he canceled plans last minute, he was probably with her. The weekend trips he took with the guys were probably with her. The concerts he went to that he said I wouldn't like the band anyway, probably with her. I felt so stupid. Here's what's messing with my head the most though. He's been so good at this. Like, terrifyingly good. He texts me every day. He stays over at my place twice a week usually. We go on actual dates, not just hiding at home. My friends know him. My family knows him. We've talked about moving in together next year. He's met my parents multiple times, spent Christmas with us, came to my cousin's baby shower last month. How do you maintain two completely separate relationships like that? How do you remember which lies you told to which person? The mental gymnastics must be exhausting. Tuesday, I went to work and tried to act normal, but Jasmine could tell I was losing it. She asked if I'd confronted him yet, and I said no, I'm still figuring out my plan. She said I need to do it soon before I actually have a breakdown. She's not wrong, I'm barely sleeping and I can't eat properly, and I'm walking around in this fog of rage and heartbreak and confusion. Tuesday night, Roland called me to FaceTime. He was in his apartment, in bed, talking about his day. He seemed so genuine, so sweet. He asked about my day, made me laugh with some story about work, told me he loved me before we hung up. After we got off the phone, I checked Carol's Instagram again. She'd posted a story 3 hours earlier of someone's hand. Definitely male, definitely could be Roland's based on the watch, holding hers across a dinner table. Caption, lucky girl. I need to tell you what happened Wednesday because that's when things got absolutely insane, but I'm running out of characters and also I need to mentally prepare myself to type out what he did because I'm still processing it. I'll update soon. I just need to figure out my next move. If anyone has advice or has been through something similar, please share. I feel like I'm going crazy, but also I've never been more clear-headed about what needs to happen. First update. Okay, so the comments on my last post were incredible and also slightly terrifying because some of you predicted exactly what happened next, and I'm wondering if you're all psychic or if cheating men are just that predictable. First off, to the person who said I should check if Carol knows about me, you were right and it's so much messier than I thought. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me tell you about Wednesday because it was absolutely unhinged. So Wednesday morning, I woke up to my phone literally vibrating off my nightstand. 17 missed calls from Roland. 17, plus a string of texts that got progressively more panicked. The voicemails were something else entirely. The first one started calm, just hey babe, call me back when you get this. By voicemail number 8, he was practically yelling into the phone about how I needed to call him immediately. It was an emergency. Please, please, please pick up. I sat there in bed, staring at my phone, and I'll be honest, part of me was terrified something actually bad had happened, like maybe someone died or he was in the hospital. But then I remembered the screenshots on my phone of him with Carol, and I thought, you know what? Whatever this emergency is, he can wait. I took my time getting ready for work, did my whole skincare routine, made myself actually eat breakfast for the first time in days. Jasmine was already up, and when she saw me being all methodical and calm, she said, I looked like a serial killer planning something, and honestly, fair assessment. Around 8 a.m. he called again. I answered this time. Before I could even say hello, he was talking so fast I could barely understand him. Something about Instagram, something about his family, something about this being a huge misunderstanding. He kept saying, we need to talk right now. Where are you? He'll come to me. I can come to his place. He'll call in sick to work. This can't wait. I told him I was getting ready for work, and I had opening shift, so I couldn't talk right now. The silence on the other end was deafening. Then he asked if I'd seen something online, and I said, I don't know what you're talking about. I've been really busy. Is everything okay? He started rambling about how his cousin's wedding photos got posted, and there might be some pictures that look weird, but it's not what it seems, and he can explain everything, but he needs to do it in person. I said, okay. I get off work at 5 p.m. We can meet after. He tried to push for earlier, during my lunch break, anything, but I held firm. 5 p.m. We could meet at the parking lot of the shopping center near my apartment, because I needed to grab some stuff from the pharmacy anyway. You should have heard him trying to get me to agree to meet somewhere more private. He suggested his apartment, my apartment, even his parents' house, which was wild. But I said no, the parking lot works fine. I'll see you then. He tried to keep me on the phone, but I told him I really had to go and hung up. Jasmine was looking at me like I'd grown a second head. She asked what my plan was, and honestly, I didn't totally know yet. But I knew I wanted him to sweat. I wanted him to spend the entire day panicking about what I knew and what I was going to do. Work was brutal because I was running on pure adrenaline. My coworker Stephanie kept asking if I'd had too much coffee because I was like vibrating with nervous energy. During my lunch break, I checked Carol's Instagram again, and she'd posted a story that morning. Just a simple text post that said, "When you find out you're not the only one, ladies, always trust your gut." So she knew, or she'd just found out, which meant something had happened to expose this whole situation to one or both of them. I was trying to figure out what could have triggered this when my phone buzzed with a text. The text said, "Is this the girl who's been dating Roland?" And I legitimately almost dropped my phone in the break room sink. But I didn't respond because honestly, I had no idea who this was, and I wasn't about to engage with random numbers. Then I got another text from a different number. This one said, "I'm his brother Frederick. We need to talk." Frederick. Roland had mentioned his brother a few times, but they weren't super close because Frederick was younger and apparently kind of a troublemaker. I hadn't met him yet because he lived a few hours away. And now he was texting me? I responded asking how he got my number. And he said he went through Roland's phone that morning when Roland was in the shower freaking out. He said he'd been suspicious about his brother for a while because the family kept talking about Carol as Roland's girlfriend, but Roland would make weird comments about being busy or having plans that didn't add up. Frederick told me that at the wedding he noticed Roland being super careful about where he stood in photos and it seemed off. So after the wedding, he'd looked through Roland's phone while everyone was drunk and found my texts to Roland, found photos of us together, found everything. He confronted Roland that morning and Roland apparently had a complete meltdown. According to Frederick, Roland confessed to dating both of us. He told Frederick that he'd started dating Carol first, then met me, fell for me, but couldn't figure out how to end things with Carol because their families were so intertwined. He'd been trying to keep us separate and was planning to eventually phase Carol out, but things got complicated. I'm reading all this during my lunch break, and I'm furious because of course Roland's version of events makes him sound like some tortured soul who just got in over his head. Like he's the victim of his own deception. Frederick said he told Roland he's a piece of garbage and needed to come clean to everyone. He also said their mom had been posting about Carol nonstop, and it was clear she didn't know about me at all. He wanted to warn me before I walked into whatever conversation Roland was planning. I asked Frederick why he was helping me, and he said because his brother is a coward and a liar and he's sick of watching him play these games. Also, apparently Roland borrowed money from Frederick months ago, claiming he needed it for a work certification course. But Frederick found out later he'd actually used it to take Carol on a weekend trip. So there was some sibling resentment there too. This was a lot to process during a 30-minute lunch break. I thanked Frederick for telling me and said I'd be talking to Roland later. He made me promise to not let Roland gaslight me, and I said trust me, I won't. The rest of my shift dragged. Every time my phone buzzed, I expected it to be Roland, but he'd actually stopped texting after our morning call. That made me more nervous than the frantic messages, honestly. Like he was planning something. 5 p.m. finally came and I drove to the shopping center. Roland's car was already there, parked near the pharmacy entrance. When I pulled up next to him and got out, he practically jumped out of his car. He immediately tried to hug me, and I stepped back. I told him we needed to talk, but I wasn't doing the whole emotional manipulation thing where he touches me, and I forget why I'm mad. He looked hurt but said, "Okay, fine. Can we at least sit in one of the cars?" We ended up sitting in my car because I wanted to be able to leave whenever I wanted. The second I closed the door, he started talking. Just this massive word vomit about how he's been so stressed. He made terrible mistakes. He never meant for any of this to happen. He loves me so much. I'm the one he wants to be with. Carol was just a relationship that he couldn't figure out how to end. I let him talk for probably 5 minutes straight, while I just sat there staring at him. Then I asked him how long. How long had he been with Carol? He tried to downplay it at first, saying they'd been on and off. It was complicated. But I pushed. I told him I'd seen her Instagram. I knew she'd been posting about their relationship for 2 years, which was the same amount of time he'd been with me. He got quiet. Then he admitted that yes, technically they'd been together that long, but it wasn't serious with her until after he met me. Which made no sense, but okay, Roland. Sure. I asked him about the wedding, about his suit jacket on her shoulders and him kissing her temple and sitting at the family table with her, about his mom commenting about her being a future daughter-in-law. He looked like he wanted to die. He said his family has always pushed him and Carol together because her family and his family have been friends forever. He felt obligated to bring her to the wedding. He said he was planning to break up with her after the wedding, but then the photos got posted and everything blew up. I asked him if Carol knew about me and he got defensive. He said Carol knew he wasn't exclusive with her, that they'd talked about seeing other people, which was clearly a lie because her Instagram literally called him her boyfriend, her love, talked about their anniversary. Then I brought up the birthday dinner. My birthday where he claimed to have food poisoning but was actually celebrating his anniversary with Carol. He tried to say he got the dates mixed up. It was a misunderstanding, but I could see in his face that he knew he was caught. I asked about the work trip to Ohio, about all the nights he claimed to be tired or busy, about the concerts and dinners and every single lie he'd told. He just kept saying he was sorry, he was so sorry, he'd made terrible choices and he'd do anything to fix this. That's when I asked him the question that I think broke him. I asked which one of us he was planning to eventually choose, if any of this had worked out the way he wanted. He got really quiet. Then he said he wanted to be with me. He loved me. Carol was just, she was just someone his family approved of, but I was the one who made him happy. And you know what I realized sitting there listening to him? He wasn't even taking responsibility. Everything was about circumstances and obligations and misunderstandings. Not once did he say, I deliberately deceived you for 2 years, I'm a cheater, I'm garbage. I told him I needed time to think, that this was too much to process, and I couldn't make any decisions right now. He panicked. He started begging me not to leave him, saying we could work through this. He'd break up with Carol immediately. He'd tell his whole family about me, whatever I needed. I said if he wants any chance at fixing this, he needs to give me space. No texts, no calls, no showing up at my place. Just time. He reluctantly agreed, but kept trying to touch my hand or hug me goodbye, and I kept pulling away. As I was getting ready to drive off, he tapped on my window. I rolled it down and he said, "Please don't make any rash decisions. Please don't tell anyone about this yet. Let him fix things properly first." The audacity. He was still trying to control the narrative and protect his reputation. I drove home and immediately told Jasmine everything. She was raging. She wanted to call him, text him, post everything on social media. But I told her I needed to be strategic here. I needed to figure out exactly what I wanted before I made any moves. That night I couldn't stop thinking about what Frederick had said. About Roland using money he'd borrowed for a trip with Carol. About how the family didn't know about me at all. About how Carol's Instagram made it clear she thought they were in an exclusive relationship. Thursday morning, I woke up to 3 texts from Roland despite him agreeing to give me space. Just checking in, thinking about me, hoping I'm okay. I didn't respond. Then, around lunchtime, my phone rang with another number. This time I answered, and it was Roland's mom, his mother who has been cold to me for 2 years, who commented on the wedding photos about Carol being her future daughter-in-law. She asked if I was the girl Roland had been seeing, and I said yes. She told me that Roland had confessed to her about the situation, and she wanted to talk to me about it. She suggested we meet for lunch on Saturday at this restaurant she likes, just the 2 of us, so we could have a proper conversation about her son's behavior. I was so stunned I just said yes without thinking. After we hung up, I realized I just agreed to have lunch with my boyfriend's mother, who clearly prefers his other girlfriend. What was I thinking? But then I thought, you know what? Maybe this is exactly what I need. Because if I'm going to make a decision about Roland, I need to understand the full situation. And who better to tell me about his relationship with Carol than his own mother? Jasmine thinks I'm insane, but also respects the strategic play. She made me promise to text her every 30 minutes during the lunch to make sure I'm okay. So now I'm supposed to have lunch with Roland's mom on Saturday, and I have no idea what she's going to say to me. Is she going to tell me to break up with him? Is she going to defend him? Is she going to try to convince me that Carol is better for him? And honestly, I'm not even sure what I want anymore. Part of me wants to burn his whole world down, but another part of me just wants answers. I want to understand how someone could do this for 2 years without any guilt. Roland texted again this morning saying he misses me and he's giving me space like I asked, but it's killing him. I still haven't responded. I'll update after the lunch on Saturday. This whole thing feels like it's spiraling into something way bigger than just a cheating boyfriend situation, and I'm equal parts terrified and ready to face whatever comes next. Last update. Saturday morning, I was a complete mess getting ready. I changed outfits like 4 times because what do you even wear to have lunch with your cheating boyfriend's mother, who clearly prefers his other girlfriend? Jasmine finally told me to just wear jeans and a nice top and stop overthinking it. She made me promise to text her every half hour and said if I didn't respond, she was calling the police, which was dramatic, but also I appreciated it. The restaurant Roland's mom picked was this upscale place in a strip mall about 20 minutes from my apartment. I got there first and sat in my car for 10 minutes, giving myself a pep talk. I kept thinking about all the comments on my posts, telling me to stay strong, don't let her manipulate me, remember my worth. Thank you to everyone who said that, because I needed it. Roland's mom, Martha, showed up right on time. She's one of those women who always looks perfectly put together. Like even when she's supposedly casual, she's wearing expensive clothes and perfect makeup. We got seated at a table near the back, and the first few minutes were just awkward small talk while we looked at menus. She asked about my job. I asked about her volunteering at the church she's always talking about, both of us dancing around the actual reason we were there. Finally, after we ordered, she just came right out with it. She said Roland had told her everything, and she wanted to understand the situation from my perspective. She wanted to know how long Roland and I had been seeing each other and what exactly our relationship entailed. I told her the truth. 2 years. We'd been together for 2 years. We talked about moving in together. He'd spent holidays with my family, the whole thing. I mentioned specific events like Christmas at my parents' house and my cousin's baby shower, times when he was fully integrated into my life. Martha got this weird look on her face. She said that's impossible because Roland has been with Carol for over 3 years. They'd been dating since Carol's junior year of college when she came home for the summer and reconnected with Roland. Martha and Carol's mom had been hoping they'd get together for years before it finally happened. 3 years? Not 2. 3. Which meant he'd started dating me while already a full year into his relationship with Carol. I wasn't even the first girlfriend. I was the second one, he added. Martha said she'd known about me for about 6 months. Roland had mentioned he was seeing someone casually, but it wasn't serious, and she shouldn't worry about it. He told his mom I was just someone he was hanging out with while he figured out his future with Carol. She thought I knew I was just a casual thing. I literally had to put my water glass down because my hands were shaking. I told her that Roland and I were absolutely not casual. We were in a committed relationship. He told me he loved me. We'd made plans for our future together. I pulled out my phone and started showing her photos of us together, text messages, everything. Martha looked genuinely shocked going through my phone. She kept saying she had no idea. Roland never mentioned any of this. She thought I was just some girl he took on a few dates. Then she handed my phone back and said she needed to be honest with me about something. She said Carol's family is very prominent in their social circle. Carol's dad is a successful business owner who's helped connect Roland with job opportunities. Carol's mom and Martha have been best friends since college. Their families vacation together, celebrate holidays together. Their lives are completely intertwined. When Roland and Carol started dating, everyone was thrilled because it felt like the families were officially joining. Martha said she never particularly liked me because Roland kept me separate from the family, and that made her suspicious. She thought I was trying to trap her son or that I had some agenda. But seeing the evidence I'd shown her, she was starting to understand that maybe Roland had been lying to everyone, not just Carol and me. Then she said something that made me want to flip the table. She said that even knowing all this, she still thought Carol was the better match for Roland. Carol came from the right kind of family, had the right education, fit into their social circle. I was nice enough, but I worked retail and didn't have the same pedigree. She was being brutally honest about how she viewed me as less than. I should have walked out right there, but I was so angry that I stayed. I told her that her son had deceived 2 women for years, had lied to everyone including his own mother, had deliberately kept his life compartmentalized so no one would discover the truth, and her concern was about social standing. She said I was being dramatic and that these things happen, relationships are complicated, Roland was young and made mistakes. She suggested that maybe the best solution would be for me to step back and let Roland and Carol work things out, since they had more history and their families were already connected. I asked her if Carol knew that Roland had been telling his mother I was just casual. Martha admitted she didn't know what Carol knew or didn't know because Roland had apparently been controlling that information too. She said she'd tried to talk to Carol's mother about it, but Roland had begged her not to say anything until he could sort it out himself. That's when I realized Roland had been manipulating everyone. His mom thought I was casual and unimportant. Carol thought they were exclusive and planning a future. I thought I was his primary relationship. His brother Frederick was suspicious but didn't have proof until recently. Our food came and we both just picked at it. Martha asked what I was planning to do, and I said I honestly didn't know yet. She said if I decided to continue seeing Roland, I needed to understand that his family would always prefer Carol, and I would never be fully accepted. It wasn't personal. It was just how things were. The lunch ended with her paying the bill despite my protests and telling me she hoped I'd make the right decision. As I was leaving, she called after me that Roland was a good boy who just got overwhelmed and made poor choices, but he had a good heart. I didn't respond. I got to my car and immediately called Jasmine and told her everything. She was livid. She said Martha was manipulative and classist and I needed to cut ties with all of them immediately. But I told her I needed to talk to Roland one more time. I needed to hear him explain all of this to my face. I texted Roland that I wanted to meet. He responded within seconds, asking when and where. I told him to come to the park near my apartment in an hour. Public place, daylight, other people around. He said he'd be there. That hour was the longest of my life. I walked around my apartment trying to figure out what I even wanted to say. Jasmine made me eat something because I barely touched my lunch with Martha. She wanted to come with me, but I said this was something I needed to do alone. Roland was already at the park when I got there, sitting on a bench looking miserable. When he saw me, he stood up like he wanted to hug me, but I kept my distance. We started walking on one of the trails because I couldn't just sit still. I told him I'd had lunch with his mom. His face went white. He asked what she'd said, and I told him everything. About Carol's family connections, about him telling Martha I was casual, about the 3 years instead of 2 years, about Martha thinking I should step back. He tried to deny it at first, said his mom misunderstood, that he never said those things exactly. But I pushed back on every excuse. I asked him point blank why he'd told his mother I was just casual when he'd been telling me he loved me and wanted a future together. He broke down, like actually started crying right there on the park trail. He said he'd been living in constant anxiety for 2 years, trying to keep everything straight. He said he'd fallen in love with me, but by the time he realized how serious it was getting, he was already in too deep with Carol and her family. He'd been planning to end things with Carol, but there was never a good time because there was always some family event or business connection or holiday coming up. I asked him why he didn't just tell me the truth. Why he didn't say, hey, I'm in a complicated situation. Give me time to sort it out properly. He said he was scared I'd leave him and he couldn't bear the thought of losing me. Then I asked about the wedding. Why he'd brought Carol as his date. Why he'd been so affectionate with her. Why he'd let his family post those photos and comments. He said he had to bring her because his family expected it. And he thought the photos wouldn't matter because I wasn't friends with anyone in his family on social media. He'd been cropping her out of all the photos he showed me because he didn't want me to be hurt. The manipulation was insane. Even his explanation was trying to make himself sound like a victim of circumstances rather than someone who'd actively chosen to deceive multiple people for years. I asked if he'd talked to Carol recently. He said yes. They'd spoken the day after Frederick exposed everything. Apparently Carol had been completely blindsided. She'd had no idea about me. Roland had told her I was just a coworker he'd taken to a few work events. Carol had been planning their future, looking at rings, talking about getting engaged after she finished her master's degree. Carol had apparently screamed at him for over an hour and then told him to never contact her again. She blocked him on everything. Her parents were furious and had already told Roland's parents they needed space from the family. The business connections Roland's mom was so proud of, completely ruined. Roland said his entire life was falling apart. His family was disappointed in him. Carol's family wanted nothing to do with him. His brother wasn't speaking to him, and now he was terrified of losing me too. He kept saying I was the one he really wanted. I was the one who truly understood him. Everyone else just saw what they wanted to see, but I saw the real him. I let him finish his whole speech. Then I asked him one question. If I'd never found those wedding photos, how long would he have kept this going? He couldn't answer. He just stood there crying and saying he didn't know. He hadn't thought that far ahead. He was just trying to get through each day. That's when I told him we were done. Not a break, not a pause, done. I said I couldn't trust anything he'd ever told me because every word out of his mouth had been calculated to serve his own interests. I said I deserved someone who was proud to be with me, who didn't hide me from his family, who didn't treat me like a dirty secret. He started begging, literally begging me to give him another chance. He said he'd tell everyone about me, he'd cut off his family if that's what it took, he'd do anything to prove he'd changed. He tried to grab my hands and I pulled away. I told him the problem wasn't that his family didn't know about me. The problem was that he'd spent 2 years lying to my face every single day. He'd stolen time from me that I could have spent finding someone who actually respected me. He'd made me question my own judgment and reality. That wasn't something you just apologized away. He asked if there was anything he could do, and I said no. I wanted him to delete my number, stay away from me, and never contact me again. If I saw him at Target where I work, he needed to shop somewhere else. I was blocking him on everything, and I expected him to respect that boundary. He was crying so hard he could barely breathe. He kept saying he loved me, he was so sorry, please don't do this. Other people on the trail were starting to stare. I just turned around and walked back to my car. He followed me to the parking lot, still trying to talk to me. I got in my car, locked the doors, and drove away while he stood there watching. It was one of the hardest things I've ever done, but also I felt this weird sense of relief, like I'd been carrying this massive weight and I'd finally put it down. When I got home, Jasmine was waiting and I just collapsed on the couch and cried for like an hour straight. Not because I wanted him back, but because I was mourning the relationship I thought I had. The Roland I loved didn't exist. He was just a character he'd played for me while playing a different character for Carol and another one for his family. That was a week ago. Roland has tried texting me from different numbers, but I block them as soon as I realize it's him. He showed up at my apartment building once, but Jasmine answered the door and told him if he came back she'd call the cops for harassment. Frederick texted me to apologize for his brother's behavior and said he hoped I was okay. I haven't heard anything from Carol, and honestly I'm glad. I don't want to compare notes or bond over being deceived. I just want to move forward with my life. I'm angry that he stole 2 years from me. I'm angry that he thought I was someone who could be manipulated and controlled. I'm angry that his mother looked me in the eye and told me I wasn't good enough for their family when her son was the problem. My mom finally asked why Roland hadn't been around, and I told her everything. She was shocked because she'd really liked him, but she said she's proud of me for having standards and not tolerating that kind of treatment. My dad wants to drive to Roland's apartment and have words with him, but I told him it's not worth it. To the people who shared similar stories, I'm sorry you went through this too. And to anyone reading this who's in a situation where they're being hidden or kept separate from their partner's life, that's not love. Love doesn't hide. Love doesn't compartmentalize. Love doesn't require you to be a secret. You deserve better than that. Roland can go explain to his next girlfriend why his last relationship ended with him crying in a parking lot.